Hello all. It's been a while. I know. Life. I wish I could say I'm back into the rhythm, but I might still need some time. You know when you're like eating a big buffet dinner and you put everything you want on the plate, but as soon as you sit down and start eating, you realize that you just took way too much? But you really want to finish it all. Yeah, that's me. My plate is full, but I can't just walk away from it. I won't take such a long break this time, but expect irregular releases for a little while. The rewrite will continue, and it will finish in proper form. I'm just greedy and took too many things that I can't let go now. Hopefully this episode is fun to digest though. I've chosen to break these into smaller sections so I can at least supply some content without having months of silence. Remember to push all those buttons that support me and type all those words, and let's get into it. See you all on the Discord. The initially forest battlefield had essentially turned to swamp from Yahiko's constant water jutsu. What once was a woodland path had been drowned under a rising tide, a tide that hadn't completely come from the sky, but from the distant roar of something vast and unnatural. The water had seemingly come from nowhere at first. It churned through the forest and blanketed the terrain ankle-deep, then shin-deep, then higher. The undergrowth breathed in the flood and exhaled rot. Reed stalks bowed and sprang. Broken bark floated like dark teeth. The wind had no say here, the current did. Kiba crouched low in the waterlogged brush, soaked to the bone, one hand bracing against a trembling root. The water didn't smell like rain, it stank of chakra. Each breath pulled the wrong cold into his chest. It didn't sharpen him, it made everything too clear. Above, Kakashi began his fall to the ground to assist Kiba. He hit the water with barely a sound, a skim, then a sink, calves taking the weight, eyes already measuring angles, how far a scythe could travel with a slippery pivot, how far a man could slip before his balance was gone, how long it took the ripples to die. Across the glade, Hidan dragged the edge of his scythe through the mud, carving a jagged, broken circle with one arm while the other hung slack and bloodstained at his side. "Hey, mutt!" Hidan called, voice lilting and cruel. "Thanks for the taste. You're gonna love what comes next." The steel's scrape wasn't loud. It was steady. The kind of sound a mind makes when it's decided what the world is for. Mud, water, mark, repeat. Kiba's teeth clenched. His arm still burned from where the blade had scraped him earlier. Just a nick, but deep enough for blood. Deep enough for whatever this psychopath needed. But whatever he had done, it had reached Akamaru and not Kiba. And a silent snarl vibrated through him as he glanced at his companion's body. The snarl didn't leave his throat. It settled behind his ribs and waited. The water lapped against his knees. The brush wished it could be wind again. Nearby, Kakashi had gone still, his Sharingan fixating on Hidan's movements. Sasuke had left at the start of the fight to meet his own opponent with Tenten. Kiba would finally get his chance at vengeance, if Kakashi didn't get in the way first. "Kiba!" Kakashi hissed, noticing the teenager bristle. The name hit like a hand on a collar. Kiba held. He kept his breath short and quiet. He didn't blink. "Catch me up on this guy." Hidan was no less confident with Kakashi's presence, his eyes lazily swinging between the two. Kiba snarled that he had to keep holding back, but still did as Kakashi instructed and filled him in on Hidan's strange ritual with the blood. But Kiba's explanation was incomplete. Words came out in hard pieces. Blood, circle, timing. The part after that he didn't want to say, so he didn't. The gaps were obvious. They knew only about the blood. Could Hidan just drink blood whenever and then kill whenever? What made his skin change color? At what point did it change color? Kiba was too blinded by his rage and grief to catalog an exact history of what had happened that resulted in Akamaru's death. "Kiba, breathe a moment." Kakashi advised, keeping his Sharingan transfixed on Hidan. "We still don't know how this trick works. Above all else, don't get hit." Kiba grumbled acknowledgement as his fingers and knuckles cracked from flexing. "Sensei," Kiba snarled, "I'm going to go all out." Kakashi glanced at Kiba for just a moment before brandishing a kunai and throwing it at Hidan, who let it puncture into his bicep before pulling it free and tossing it away. Sure enough, Kiba spoke truth. Hidan did not bleed, nor did he appear injured in any capacity, nor did he even try to avoid damaging attacks. This wasn't something Kakashi was at all familiar with. It was clear to Kakashi that a step was missing, or this guy could just wander into a hospital and kill everyone in one fell swoop. There had to be an activation for it. If not hand seals, then maybe a Kekkei Genkai of some sort with a unique activation. Judging from his damaged headband, Kakashi could tell Hidan was from Yugakure. It was strange to see a ninja from Yuga, considering it had in recent years abandoned its ninja way and become a peaceful nation. Unless he defected as a result of the nation discarding its ninja teachings. Hidan was not patient enough to let Kakashi size him up and dove at the pair with his great scythe. The motion was ugly but quick. Water sheared, the circles smudged, the laugh didn't change. Kakashi and Kiba both braced at the same time. Kiba held his ground as Kakashi leapt up and over Hidan, narrowly dodging the range of his scythe. The instant Kakashi landed back down, he dove at Hidan's rear, developing their defensive stance into a pincer strike. Kiba, likewise, did not fall away from Hidan's attack, but charged in close, inside the scythe's effective range. The scythe stopped mid-swing, swiveled and changed directions all in an instant, forcing Kakashi to halt his charge and Kiba to draw a kunai to block the scythe. Hidan's weapon cut straight through the kunai, but slowed enough for Kiba to dodge away. They would need to block the shaft from now on, if Hidan's blade was sharp enough to slice other ninja tools to ribbons. Spinning in place, Hidan hurled his scythe at Kakashi, who leaned away and snapped forward to catch the weapon himself. Hearing the clinking of a chain just slightly too late, Hidan ripped the scythe back to himself, pulling Kakashi along with it. "Now that's more like it," Hidan celebrated, jumping towards Kakashi with a pincer of his own, only for Kiba to catch him in the attack, gripping him by the ankles and throwing him away from them both. Neither he nor Kakashi met eyes as they came together again to face Hidan's attacks. Kakashi sighed. This Akatsuki was deceptive. He took several attacks head-on without a single care in the world. Kakashi stupidly thought that the man was clumsy, but he was just lazy. Twirling and landing on his feet, Hidan wasted no time before charging after them yet again. With a quick pivot, both Leaf Ninja split up, dodging in opposite directions to avoid the weapon swings. Kakashi twisted through the air and flung several shuriken to keep Hidan at bay. He gave a half effort to defend himself, swinging the scythe once, but allowing 3 shuriken to strike him without wincing. It was becoming clearer why the kids were having such trouble with Hidan, as he removed the shuriken piercing his flesh, and no blood released from the injury points. By this point, in fact, the parts of his body that were visible were covered in eviscerations. Kakashi didn't chase the sight with thought. He recorded it. The mind could make sense later. The body had to move now. He shifted his weight so that his heel bit the root and not the sludge, ready to cut the angle the moment Hidan's shoulders told the truth. The others had done a number on Hidan, but he appeared no less capable even now. But even if his body was impossible to damage, that didn't mean his chakra was infinite. Did it? Whether his body was being kept together by a complex jutsu or some other means, it would certainly require chakra to maintain function. Maybe he was closer to a lost state than he let on. Flowing straight into an ox seal, Kakashi's hands blurred into a flurry of hand seals. Lightning style! Lightning net jutsu! Shooting a spray of lightning at Hidan, who predictably did not put much effort into dodging and was struck full on. The water loved the current. It carried it, fed it, made a field of it. For a breath, The swamp became a sky turned upside down, bright, bleached, buzzing. As the lightning surged through his feet and legs, Hidan crumpled and fell to his knees. Kakashi squinted. He could be cut, but not bleed. But clearly his muscles were manipulable. The gentle fist would crush this guy. If only Neji or Hinata were here. "Stupid tricks!" Hidan complained, trying to climb to his feet as the jutsu faded. Diving at the man, Kiba took what he perceived as a chance and attacked Hidan in melee combat. The Akatsuki was slow to react, but once he realized Kiba was on him, came alive with energy and began every effort to cut Kiba. The young Inuzuka was smart, keeping well inside the scythe's range, making it clunky and ineffective. Footwork became the only honest thing in the world. Knees low, hips square, hands where they needed to be, not where they wanted to be. Breath short to save air and stop the chest from bobbing into a blade. Kiba caught the shaft of Hidan's scythe with one hand and drew back with the other to strike Hidan cleanly. Chakra lifted from Kiba's shoulders as his eyes turned to glowing like a fierce beast staring from the darkness. Hidan had a moment of humility before snapping a kick flat to Kiba's chest and sending him 20 feet away. Silence. Then the slap of water over water. Then the up-breath that tastes like copper and grit. He stood again because standing was the only direction that mattered. Sniveling suddenly, Kiba bit into his thumb. The thought of other animal companions, but not Akamaru. "Summoning Jutsu!" Kiba roared through his tears, flipping through the air and slamming his palm into the soaked mud and conjuring out his monkey companion. "No!" Kiba shook his head. "Everyone to me!" And in a sudden chain of explosive clouds, his entire pack of contracted animals appeared by his side. His monkey with a worn bow staff and Konoha garb to match, his eagle with a metallic beak attachment for enhanced strikes, his tortoise with a spiked shell, his wolf with whom he had promised to rescue their leader, the king of wolves. Kumagoro, his great bear companion, Reiko, his majestic tiger companion. They arrived like weather. Weight pressed through the water and made new currents. Feathers shed droplets that hung in the air before they remembered to fall. Fur lifted, claws found purchase, old vows woke up in new mud. If it was a show of force, it worked. Kakashi felt himself sweat at the sheer sight of Kiba's army. But not just the size, the diversity. He had heard tell of those extraordinary few who had made contracts with 2 clans, but never more. And here's Kiba, knelt beside 6 bestial companions. Tiger standing tall and fierce beside a young great wolf. Monkey working with bear. He somehow managed to unite even conflicting packs. They stood together, united, against the same foe. To do so with such generational rivalry, Kakashi could only blink. That was one of the defining qualities of a Kage. The rain no longer fell, it seemed. It parted. For a moment it bent around Kiba, not by wind, not by jutsu, but by presence. Kiba stood motionless in the churned battlefield, bare-handed, soaked to the bone. Blood and mud caked into the lines of his face like war paint. Hidan laughed across from him. "Some petty animals will do nothing. Simply more sacrifices for Jashin." Kiba didn't answer. He closed his eyes and opened a gate. The sound was nothing like thunder. It was deeper, lower. A bass frequency felt more than heard, like the cracking of ancient wood beneath the ocean, a deep from the earth itself. Gate of opening. Gate of healing, gate of life. And then the forest changed. The trees almost leaned away, the water rippled outward, even the mist seemed to recoil. His skin flushed red, grotesquely, like the uncontrolled rage that was finally breaking from its container. Steam rose off him in ribbons, circling upward into the rain clouds, spiraling like a ritual offering. The lines of his muscles didn't bulge, they hardened, refined, as if answering a command from something greater than power itself. His summons cowered at a sudden explosion of power. The tiger's ears flattened, tail low. His summons were afraid of him. Hidan's eternal smile faded slightly. He didn't understand what he was seeing. Kiba's eyes opened, still glowing like the beast he now embodied. Kakashi stared with awe that Kiba had managed to reach the third gate with such minimal training from the guy. It was clearly with effort, but the effects would be the same as with any other user. He wondered if Kiba was perhaps the strongest of his class with this revelation. He also felt a twinge of fear? Not at Kiba's sheer ability, but at the power now wafting from him. "You killed Akamaru," Kiba growled, clean tears streaking down his muddied face, and amid his fierceness, as he unleashed everything he was capable of, Akamaru would have approved. He didn't dash. He erupted. The space he had occupied tore apart behind him. The air cracked. Rain boiled in place as he passed through it. Water shattered underfoot. He moved faster than Hidan's eye, than Kakashi's Sharingan could track. Not vanishing, not teleporting, but running with a violence that split the world open. In a blink, Kiba's clawed hands skewered the space between them, tearing heavily at Hidan's face, closing one of his eyes, perhaps forever. But Hidan did not have time to react in rage or worry, as that was just the first of Kiba's attacks. Hidan's scythe spun defensively, but Kiba's new speed made it easy to dodge around any sharp object Hidan could hope to gouge the Inuzuka with. Kakashi swallowed hard, and his Sharingan spotted an opening. Despite Kiba's animal companions waiting for the signal to go, Kakashi felt the need to aid. He took 3 steps before Kiba suddenly vanished from his onslaught on Hidan and appeared in front of Kakashi. "Please, just watch, Sensei," Kiba asked with a strangely serene cool, as Hidan finally reacted behind, screaming obscenities at Kiba's back. "Reserve your strength for the battles to come." He had even been thinking of Kakashi's future role in the other battles on the field. Had Kiba peaked? At such a young age, had he reached what every child of the village had wished for? The strength to hold the deadliest of foes in the palm of his hand, and the wisdom to keep his comrades safe? Kakashi had started, but the young wolf had already returned to his savaging of the Akatsuki man. He was fast like Guy or Lee. Faster, like Lord Forth. He was efficient, deadly, graceful, and unfortunately probably kicking himself for not doing this before Akamaru was felled. A second wave hit Kakashi. The level of grief that Kiba felt in these moments must have been utterly dreadful and spiraling. He was in control for now, but if the balance within teetered more towards grief, then Kakashi would need to step in to compensate for Kiba's recklessness. A shuriken flashed into Kiba's hand as he flipped over Hidan and used the tiny tool to block a wide strike from the scythe. The margin for error in this fight was razor thin, and it seemed as if Kiba was flirting with that potential danger. A sign of the recklessness Kakashi feared above all else. But with a spark, Kiba knocked the scythe away, redirecting the shuriken into Hidan's shoulder, and with brutish strength and zeal, spun the shuriken, carving a huge gash into the shoulder. Hidan's arm fell limp, as tendons and ligaments tore. Kakashi furrowed his brow. The man would not bleed, but his body still obeyed musculature or lack thereof. That meant they could disable him, even if he still would not die. A method for victory had just been uncovered. But Hidan only needed one arm to manipulate his scythe, and kept swinging wildly at the much faster Kiba. Kakashi did wonder if this Akatsuki man was even a ninja. He had not seen the man use a single jutsu since their fight began. No wonder Kiba was running circles around him. This was a taijutsu battle through and through. Kiba likely chose taijutsu for its visceral feeling in his moments of fury and grief, but it seemed as if his opponent had little or no choice in the matter, especially now that one of his arms had been disabled. Appearing behind Hidan in a flash with nothing but his clawed hands as weapons now, Kiba tore down and severed Hidan's other arm. "You may not bleed, but you may suffer," Kiba grumbled angrily. Still, his animal companions stood to the wayside, watching with awe, fear, and understanding. Obedience even, as Kiba did all the work. Hidan fell to his knees, basically armless, grinning with broken teeth. No more ritual now. His only weapon had been flung away. "You ruined it," Hidan hissed. "You don't even know what you did." Kiba towered over him, steam rising from his shoulders like smoke from a forge. But Hidan was already backing away, staggering on bare knees, laughing bitterly as his body refused to collapse. "You'll see next time," he whispered almost lovingly. He collapsed in the mud, and its suction prevented him from sitting up again. As he flopped as harmless as a fish out of water, Kiba and Kakashi felt a sudden tremor. A pulse of chakra so sharp and sudden it made the water shudder. And a moment later, lightning. It didn't descend from above, graceful and beautiful. It detonated, streaking downward like a divine spear, splitting the air and the battlefield alike. Trees burst into flame despite the deluge. Water exploded to steam. All glowed in a blinding blue, and everything exploded. The sky didn't brighten, it broke. It wasn't a flash, and it wasn't a fall. It was a decision. Every cloud in reach folded toward the same point, and then that point pointed back. The air had edges, the world had a center again, and it was directly overhead. The shockwave struck like a hammer, and everything submerged was touched by it. Kiba cried out as electricity seared through his soaked clothes, but it was distant, a shadow of the core blast. He could feel it had struck far, far away, but the water carried it everywhere. Sound went to glass and then to dust. Heat pushed breath back down his throat. The surface of the swamp rose in a single sheet and came down as rain that wasn't rain anymore. Hidan groaned, but was still unable to move. The sheer power behind the strike took Kakashi down. Perhaps the gates protected Kiba from such damage. The shock disrupted all his summons as well. No one could have avoided a sudden blast like that, whoever the conjurer was. The eagle tumbled and clawed back to air on a ragged wing beat, then settled on the tortoise's back. The tiger lowered his head and held, the muscles like cables under striped skin. The bear planted. The monkey set his staff across Hidan's chest and leaned his weight like a bar. "Bastard!" Hidan gurgled from the mud, skin now burnt like leather, still struggling to lift himself. He was hardly a threat anymore, and he couldn't be killed. Then maybe turning him over to the Leaf's interrogation squad was the best sentence Kiba could ask for. His jaw set, and he turned to behold the other fighting occurring around him. Steam lifted off everything. The ground, the steel, the skin. The trees weren't trees anymore, they were blackened ribs. Between them, sheets of glass ran through the mud where lightning had stitched heat and sand together. The air hummed with leftover charge. He was so honed in on the fight at hand that he hadn't realized that the wall had fallen to rubble and smoke. The surrounding forest had been flattened, and there was so much water now, the area could be mistaken for a swamp or even a lake. Amongst all the rubble, every which way, Kiba could not see any other allies. Silence moved in fits and starts, as if landscape was remembering how to breathe. He counted the companions still upright, and counted again. He found Kakashi, and didn't like the stillness of his outline. His tortoise came in close, and Kiba lifted Kakashi's unconscious body to rest on its shell. Lord Hokage flitted through his thoughts. Leaving the unarmed Hidan like a stick in the mud, and even the now unconscious Kakashi from the flare of lightning, Kiba turned to assist the Hokage in whatever way he could. He tested his legs. They held. but only because the heat still lived under the skin, something old and opened and not yet closed. He made himself small and fast again, head down, shoulders forward. He chose a line through wreckage that would hold a footstep long enough to lift the next one. As he left the field, the effects of the 8 gates peeled away from him, and he felt a sudden exhaustion. But now was not the time to be resting. This had all happened because they were after Ino. He couldn't help Akamaru, but he wouldn't let any of them touch Ino. Behind him, rain tried to learn how to fall again. The swamp whispered as it cooled. The circle Hidan carved had long since lost its shape and smudged into nothingness. The forest had lost its name. He didn't look back. He didn't need to. Eagle, tiger, and wolf in tow, Kiba walked. He moved toward where the storm still spoke, every muscle dimming one notch at a time, every step an answer to the question only he could hear. The air was iron and ash. The light was wrong. His heartbeat was right. Still forward, still faster than the fear, still the last one on his feet. And that's the end of today's episode. Just as I'm sure some of you were sick of waiting, I was also growing tired of not putting something out. So it's a short episode, but hopefully this will give me the gumption to push on with more and more. We're not back to weekly releases yet, obviously, but hopefully this can serve as a holdover for the episodes to come. This battle is far from over, but clearly we're seeing the effects of other people's abilities intruding on each other's battleground. I'm sure you noticed this with the clash I orchestrated between the Triumphant 12. I really like the feel of simultaneous battles that actually affect each other. When Kenpachi arrives with 3 Sternritter on his back, amidst all the chaos in Soul Society, it delivers an odd feeling. Dudes mowing through enemies while they're mowing through everyone else, and it's just happening in the background. It's a badass moment, do not get me wrong, but I hate that no one felt Kenpachi's presence until he was right beside the boss man. Anyway, I appreciate so much the patience everyone has had for my return. I did lose some folks, but I can hardly blame any of them for assuming mine was a dead channel. I never intended for that long of a break either, but life gets in the way, and it suddenly feels impossible to make time for stuff like this. My number one question to myself through all of this was, how did I have so much time for the channel before? Well, I specifically made time for it. I still had time to play video games, I still had time to watch my favorite TV shows, I still had time to work overtime at work. It's just being smart with time, and I wasn't being that as much this last little while. The next couple episodes will be shorties like this, and then I'll see about expanding to longer length after that. I know long episodes aren't obligatory, but I get a lot of satisfaction from pumping out an hour-long episode each week. Makes the wait feel worth it for me. I know I used to do short episodes all the time, but I also used to do 2 episodes a week. I just gotta find that stride again, and hopefully this video will help me on the way. Also, my video editing software keeps getting updates that makes it worse in functionality. Like, they're simplifying things for ease of access, but that removes time-saving functions as well. I just don't get it. Keep it the same, people. And I mean, they're removing functions. They're not changing them. They're removing them. It's crazy. Anyway, motivation's a bit of a bitch sometimes. Anyway, ramble over. Stay tuned. I still have a couple Dragon Ball Z episodes in the chamber, and even a single One Punch Man video that I've wanted to do for some time. These off-topic videos will probably release at the end of an arc or something to give breathing room for the rewrite. These other videos are never really what-ifs or theory crafting. They're mostly narrative, lore, or story-focused, just like my Shouting Gun video or the Nine-Tailed Fox video. What's that thing I always say? It's been so long. Oh, yes. The sky's the limit.